Well, Dr. Mary Quin is the inaugural Chief Executive of Callaghan Innovation. She has been back in New Zealand, she tells me, only 3 weeks after 37 years away, so we won't ask if she has settled yet because it's too soon for that question. She's held a number of senior executive roles in NASDAQ-listed companies like Eastman, Kodak and Xerox. At Xerox, she was VP of Strategy and Business Development in the $5.5 billion production systems group. Her most recent role, well, she ran 2,800 people in a US support services company, Nana Management Systems in Alaska. Please welcome Dr. Mary Quin.
Well, good afternoon, and it's a real pleasure to be here at Go Global, and as you've heard, share with you the wisdom of my entire 3 weeks in my new job. But fortunately, I have a fantastic group of people already in Callaghan Innovation, and several of them are here in the room, so I'd like to invite them all to stand up so you know if you've got someone at your table or nearby that you can have a chance to speak to before the day's over or follow up with us in the days and weeks to come. You know, it's we're part of the story, the incredible Go Global story that's been talked about today, and it's my opportunity to share with you the emerging Callaghan Innovation piece of that story, which is really about supporting all of you, supporting the innovation and the growth that your companies are already achieving in global markets and are going to continue to achieve to an ever greater level, and we are looking forward to being part of your success. I think what we all share here in the room and in the different speakers today is a vision for a very prosperous New Zealand now and into the future. And that's ultimately measured by gross domestic product per capita, but not just any gross domestic product. It's having that diversity of industries and an increasing part of that prosperity coming not just from the traditional primary industries, but increasingly coming from high-tech and high-value added manufacturing and services businesses. Seeing more jobs coming from those kinds of businesses, and those higher tech jobs, high value add, high knowledge intensity in those jobs, contributing to higher incomes. And of course, translating to a higher standard of living for everybody and thriving communities. So I think that's a shared vision that we can all believe in, and certainly a vision that made me very excited about coming back to New Zealand and joining Callaghan Innovation. Sean talked about how we stack up against Denmark. This is another comparison here in terms of GDP per capita by purchasing power. Amongst OECD countries, this is 2011 data, we're number 21. Now, when you think about all the countries in the world, the number changes probably every week or so, but certainly well over 200 countries. So to be number 21 is actually pretty good. But do we really want to be 16 places behind Australia? That's the question here. And certainly when we see what countries of a similar population like Denmark can do, we know we've got plenty of opportunity for further growth. Sean also commented about the importance of innovation, and it's been talked about. Doug and other speakers today have really stressed the importance of innovation to growth, to prosperity, to a strong economy. And innovation is really something that people use that term very, very freely. And what do we mean by it? One Nobel laureate described it as those changes in the life of the customer or changes in the world in which the customer experiences things. So that's from the mind of a Nobel laureate, a way of thinking about innovation, changes that affect our life and the world around us. And we often think of it as doing brand new things, but it's also about simply doing some of the things we already do in a way that's faster, more effective, or simply cheaper. And all of those are examples of innovation. We often also tend to think about innovation as being in the high-tech or R&D realm, but innovation really in a business can be across the way marketing is done, the way financial work is done in the company, the way customer service is provided. So innovation really can cover the whole range of services and functions within a company. But from Callaghan Innovation's point of view, certainly the focus is very much on innovation in the R&D part of the business. Others have mentioned this today, so just briefly reiterate that innovation is really important, but without commercialization, it doesn't create value, it doesn't change lives. Interesting in its own right, but the really key thing and the thing that concerns all of us here today is how to successfully commercialize that innovation and get it into global markets. One thing that I've been spending quite a bit of time thinking about in the past few weeks is the fact that innovation is not only about R&D, the technology part of this slide, but it's also, the commercialization is highly dependent on capital, on access to markets, and particularly because our domestic market is so small to the much larger global markets, and it's also about access to talent. And of the companies I've had the chance to speak with over the past few weeks, when I ask what's your barrier to growth, the interesting thing is, and be interested if all of you in the room would agree with this, it's actually the first words are not, well, we can't get access to technology or we don't have enough R&D capability, but the words that first come out are we can't find enough people with the skills we need. And so it's about access to talent as an important part of the commercialization challenge. And then probably second thing that comes up is about access to capital and different points of view. Is that really that capital is not available, or is that business owners don't like giving up equity in exchange for capital on the terms that investors want? So an interesting dialogue to have on that particular issue. So let me turn a little bit more now to what is Callaghan Innovation's role going to be, and it is going to evolve. We were only created effective the 1st of February this year, so we are very much a startup, but we're a startup that's inherited some very valuable capabilities that play a role in supporting the growth of your businesses. One of four areas where we see us having a role to play. The first one is helping to drive an innovation culture and strengthen the innovation culture in New Zealand. So we'll be playing a role in supporting events and sponsoring events, participating in events like today at Go Global, in workshops and forums with different industries around the country. And we see creating an innovative culture as an area where we can very closely work with the education sector and with iwi, and with making sure that young New Zealanders, right from primary school and high school, are really seeing being entrepreneurs, being engineers, being innovators as a very cool thing to do. And I think in communities that hold innovation and creating and building businesses in high esteem, and Silicon Valley is certainly a great example of that, the media itself has an important role to play of telling those stories of those successes and creating, if you like, some glamour and excitement around being an entrepreneur, being an inventor, and commercializing those products on a global basis. And other examples of programs that help drive an innovative culture, we work with the Institute of Professional Engineers on the Future in Tech program to help young people see engineering as a really important or viable career path for them, because we actually produce a really good number of science graduates, but we're relatively low in OECD countries in the percentage of degrees that are in the engineering fields. Second role, so first one, driving an innovation culture. Our second role is building capability in businesses. And in all of these areas, we're not looking to reproduce or replace any capability that already exists in New Zealand. But our focus is really on looking on where are the gaps or where are areas that may need strengthening, and seeing if we can't bring our capabilities and resources to bear where there's opportunities to fill in needs that firms have to be more effective in commercializing their great ideas. So some of our programs are around training in leadership and general business skills, some of the Better by Design, Better by Lean types of programs are inside Callaghan Innovation now. We have programs where we can apply grants to internships to bring interns into businesses, to bring in new expertise, and that also helps foster the development of talent. We can provide project management skills. Businesses may, Sean described how having some scientists get together with great ideas, but maybe some of the other capabilities on getting a product to the marketplace might be lacking. And we look to see if there's ways we can provide help, whether it's through grants or whether it's through our people, to help firms with that aspect of growing the business. Self-assessment, where we've got effort underway to create online tools that a business owner can assess their own business and see what areas they may need to shore up their capabilities. And foresighting services, keeping an eye on the global picture, keeping an eye out on major trends affecting different industries, and obviously partnering very closely with organisations like NZTE in providing those services. The third area is being a very significant agent in the country for connectivity and access. And again, not reproducing what other organisations are already very effectively doing, but rather making sure that we try to connect the dots, that we introduce business owners and entrepreneurs and inventors to those other resources around New Zealand or worldwide that may be able to help them be successful more quickly. Our online portal that we're developing will be an online way of getting some of that information. Things like joint appointments between ourselves and a CRI, ourselves and a university, ourselves and a business might be ways that we can increase the connections between people, a sort of a living version of LinkedIn, if you like, of linking people to others who have done what they need to do before them, or have capabilities or resources that could be helpful. And of course, partnering with iwi, with other government departments, with other R&D providers. And finally, our role that's perhaps the most traditional role, in that we incorporate the former IRL, Industrial Research Labs, and in building on that capability, which is at this stage the majority of our internal workforce, to build technology platforms that can support multiple industries, to support product development. And a lot of the work that we do with individual firms is helping analyze the capabilities of a product. Sometimes it's doing some fairly fundamental science to help the product development process. Sometimes it's doing manufacturing help. It may be helping set up a pilot plant. And another area we see expanding, we do certain standards work, but also some of the regulations. And Doug talked about the criticality in some industries of regulations before a product can be accepted into the market. There's no reason for every New Zealand firm to have to learn that from scratch if one organisation can provide a lot of that regulatory advice for every company who needs it. And again, I stress every time, it's in partnership, it's in collaboration with organisations and resources that already exist. So in summary of our approach, it's to motivate, get people excited about starting businesses, about commercialising innovation. It's making connections, and it's delivering certain services, particularly in the R&D area and in making grants. And how do we finally measure the goal here? Of course, it's about cash registers ringing, revenues being generated for those businesses that are innovating. For individual firms, it's of course the profits that come from new and better products and services in the market. It's about smarter ways of doing things, driving costs down, being more efficient, and it's therefore gaining a competitive edge in global markets. And that adds up to, for New Zealand in total, stronger economy, of course, where we started, that's our aspiration, higher value exports, more sustainable use of our resources, and more jobs and higher incomes. So how we measure our success over the years, Callaghan Innovation will measure our success by your success, by the growth of New Zealand's high-value manufacturing and services businesses, and ultimately growth in New Zealand's GDP. So we are joining you on the journey. We look forward to you joining us, and touching base with us through our website there, callaghaninnovation.government.nz, or our phone number. And I'm told the reason there are more letters than there are numbers is because after you get through G, the remaining letters don't mean anything. You can dial them in on the phone, but it will get through to us regardless. Just easier to remember, 0800 4 Callaghan. So on that note, again, delighted to be here, to be joining you in Going Global.